often it's different. And so then we have to get even more curious, and we have to get more tolerant, because we aren't coming from the same, two people can look at exactly the same event and have very different interpretations.
Absolutely. Welcome to Tapping In. I'm your host, Marisa Grieco, and today's guest is the beautiful Johanna Watts. She is an incredible actress, director, writer. I'm sure you're going to recognize her right away. And she's also an incredible, intuitive woman. And I'm so honored to have her share her insights today in how she taps into this amazing universal energy. Welcome, Johanna.
Thank you, Marisa. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much. I love you and I love your show. So thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. So you grew up as a hippie in
Yes.
Florida. I wanted to bring that up because you were so glamorous. You were so Hollywood. And when I first found that out, I was like, what? I wanted to know more about it. Can you?
Well, I mean, it's a funny thing. People often do say to me, like, you don't look like a hippie. And I don't know what a hippie looks like. I think because I grew up with hippies, it was like hippies way past the 60s, people who are still living the lifestyle on communes and with school buses and teepees. Wow. And, going to festivals. That was just the water I swam in. And it's like asking a fish, like, well, you don't look like you live in the water. And they're like, well, I'm just living here. I don't understand.
Just doing my thing.
I'm just doing my thing. And I think for me, even as a kid, I was like, well, I don't have to wear rainbows and tie-dye to be a hippie. I think it's more of a state of mind, a caring about the planet and feeling deep connection to the earth and nature and other human beings, and seeing other human beings as my brothers and sisters in a lot of ways. Like we are all this family living on the earth together and learning to share and learning to work through our problems and be kind to each other, and I think that's a lot of what I grew up with. And then what I wear is like, it's a costume, whatever
I want.
Anything. Yeah.
But I think that's the cool part. It's more about the feeling as opposed to what it looks like. Because
Right.
again, people want to put you in a box like, oh, it's a hippie, so you wore beads every day. You're like, no, we were all super cool and hanging out.
Right. And there were times when I did wear beads.
All right.
Every day I had to wear my beads.
All right. The beads are good.
And the
I'm just
crystals.
kidding.
And I still have like crystals around on my windowsills and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think it's more about the state of mind. It's more about that connection to purpose and kindness and light and really what is the authentic soul connection, I think, is more important.
Absolutely. How do you bring that into your work? So, for example, when you've got to play certain roles, if you get stressed out, or like, how do you use those tools to kind of ground you if you are feeling a little anxiety or anxious, or like, do you still bring those?
I bring it into everything, right? Because sometimes I'm a writer, sometimes I'm a director, sometimes I'm an actor, and sometimes I'm just a mom, But I need my tools for all the things. As an actor, it's interesting. I just played a sniper. It's like a sniper with PTSD and like a very dark role.
Wow, that sounds so sexy though.
It does,
right?
It does. And yet it was like, I was worried, I thought, oh gosh, is this going to bring me down? Because I want to really go all the way into this role. And I thought, oh, this is going to be a lot to take on. And one, I had to trust my director. And two, I did have to employ the deep connection of knowing really who am I? Who am I? What am I? And I don't have to judge my character and say, well, okay, my character doesn't have all these tools of meditation. Yeah. My character doesn't have all these tools.
Right.
I can trust that like what's coming through me because I was asked to play this role, that's going to be exactly the right thing. And what it allowed me to do is to take on all of the darkness and trust that I can let it go. It will be lifted. It will. That same dark, heavy character that's like literally thinking about sniping people on the street she can
shift out of it.
I can shift out of it. I can let her go, and I don't have to carry it around in my day-to-day and feel
like weird and
dark.
Yeah. What's cool about, I think, when you do characters like that, it helps you to take out also the parts of you that you may have shame about or feel like, I'm driving in traffic and I wanted to smack this guy, right? Whatever that energy is, it gives you a chance to see it as something separate, that it is just a part of us, it is not all of us, And you could still come back to center and feel like I'm still love, even if I want to put those different characters on. Okay, so tell me more about that.
Okay, so interestingly, working this dark role, meditation was a big part of the role itself, because it's part of why I liked it, is because this character who's so dark is using meditation to get out of her darkness and tap into her, like, what's going on underneath all of this exterior aggression. And I feel like we all need that. I need that every day, because I can get riled up about something my kid does, or something that happens in the news, or something that happens in traffic, right? It can be very little, it can be very big, but I need to keep coming back to that center, that authentic, grounded center, because that's what's true, right? Like, that's what's lasting. This fleeting moment of being outraged about one thing or another,
Yeah.
the feeling will come up.
thrashed.
And how do I want to show up for that feeling?
Right.
I can acknowledge it, I can let it pass, and then let it pass on, just the way that I might let a dark character just pass on.
Let it go.
Okay, you came up, there you are, I see you, thank you. Oh, and for traffic, silly aside.
Well, you're LA traffic. So
LA traffic,
that's a whole
it's like,
other
it's always on, right?
Yeah.
But I think everybody deals with it sometimes. And I don't think I've ever been one to, like, rage in traffic. But, if somebody cuts me off, I'll be like, what was that? And lately I've just been using the word cute, or I'll be like, oh, you're so cute. I think you're in a hurry. Oh, that's really cute. I think you got lost and you're trying to,
I always think they have to go to the bathroom. I'm like, oh, you got to go to the bathroom really bad for cutting me off and taking the side
I hope you get there in time.
Exactly.
Don't pee your pants.
Yeah, don't pee your pants. Totally okay.
Yeah.
So what are some meditations, or, like, do you say affirmations to yourself, or what do you do? What's your process?
I use writing a lot for affirmations and for connection. That writing is almost a process of listening for me, journaling, I should say. First thing in the morning, I get up and I write. And I just dump for about 20 minutes whatever's coming up for me. And I'll ask for guidance if I'm, like, nervous about something in the day. Okay, what do I need to know? Where is this going? Or just, sometimes there's an answer, and sometimes it's like the answer comes later. Most of the time, if I ask, an answer comes back, But then for meditation, for me, a lot of it is getting grounded, right? Connecting to something in the earth, and then checking in with my body and finding out where am I holding tension, and how do I let it go. I listen into the chakra system and work on clearing each of the chakras, and I have kind of a technique that I've used on my own for a long time.
Can you share that with us? Is that too much?
Well, no, it's not. And it's super simple. So
I love
it's
it.
not
I
a
love
secret.
chakra techniques, because I feel like if you have a hard time meditating and your mind is really active, and people are like, I can't quiet my mind. That's why I love this.
Yeah.
I can't quiet my mind. I can't focus on my breathing. But if I do a chakra meditation, then it's like a win-win. My mind is kind of listening and will play along. And it's like everything is in order.
Yeah.
So, right?
Yeah. And I feel like we are body and spirit.
Yes.
Right? So getting my body, that's often I have to start with the physical. And so that's what it is for me with the chakra system, is to sit, get into really good posture, close my eyes, and I breathe in 3 times through each chakra point, all the way up the chakra, and then 6 times at the top, and then 3 times all the way back down.
Oh, I love that.
And it takes 10 to 15 minutes, deep, slow breaths in and out. My mind will wander. It happens all the time, right? I'll start thinking about something, and then I just kind of come right back. Nope, I'm here. And I just acknowledge it and notice if there's tension, especially on the way up. There's often, like, tension that I'm not releasing, and I'll find myself tempted to, like, try to get rid of the tension.
Right,
which
right. You start to struggle it, right?
Yeah,
You're like, what's
then
in
I'm back
here?
in
What's
the struggle.
happening?
And it's such a good metaphor for life, where I'm like, this isn't the way I want it. And if I just, like, acknowledge it and let it go, it passes on, right?
It does.
So same with the meditation, where I'll just acknowledge, like, oh, okay, I'm holding a little more tension in my shoulder, or, like, right here in my heart chakra, there's, like, an anxiety or something.
Right.
Or I'm hitting my mic. So I'll just notice it, and I'll invite the breath, invite it to let go as I breathe through it. And often on the way back down, my mind is more quiet.
Yeah, well, it's because earth energy is coming up, so it's a little bit more dense.
Oh.
And the lower chakras are more third-dimensional living, so it's the physical realm. So that's why when you hit some of these, they'll be more about your emotions, your relationships. So if you see a person's face come up, right, during the meditation, I always think, oh, that's their energy in that space. I give that back to you, And now bring in the color or bring your breath back in. So that way it's kind of like this, it's almost like you are excited by the stress as opposed to feeling the tension. It's more like, oh, you need to be cleared up. What's in there, right? And then the next one, the solar plexus, that's our thoughts, our mental thoughts, our power. So again, if it's like I have a lot of negative thoughts happening, so you feel tension there, again, it's like, oh, giving that unconditional love, like you got this, it's okay. Or you're holding a little bit more of that, an anxious thought, and you release this. And then the heart's the bridge. The heart's the bridge to the higher realms and, of course, the earth realms. So that's why you could maybe feel more of the feistiness of it, like, and then as you go up higher, it's lighter. And then as you bring the energy down, you're bringing the higher part of you. So it's almost like you go visit that, your guide, God, source, universal guidance. And then you're pulling that back down or receiving it more. And that's why on the way down, there's a sense of calm. So you're basically re-inviting you back into the physical.
Right.
And making space for it.
And remembering that this is a physical expression of something
bigger.
Something.
That's so beautiful and so good because so much of the time we do it automatically and we don't realize like, oh, this is what I'm doing. Like, of course, that makes total sense. But you're doing it already, which I love, and it works and it helps clear.
And I don't do it perfectly, and I don't do it all the time.
And none of us do.
Right.
Like sometimes, right? Nobody does.
Well, some people do. Some people that's their whole thing. And sometimes the best I can do is to sit there and go, okay, I've got time for one breath all the way up and one breath all the way, or just be still. And to like allow myself the grace to say, okay, well, today I've got 5 minutes. That's it. Or 1 minute. And then I'll just set a timer and be like, okay, I'm going to take 1 minute of deep breaths. And that's going to be my recentering. Because you juggle a lot. You're doing so many things. Sometimes we can't.
And I think it comes back down to unconditional love. Like you said, like regardless how I do it, what it looks like, I'm trying my best in this moment. And at least we acknowledge that we are resetting as opposed to before we were just running, right? It was always just your subconscious running the show and you constantly in that like, it's like that boulder chasing you. You're like, I'm just trying to stay ahead of it. Where I think nowadays we don't do that as often. Where now we're just like, whoa, stop this boulder. Take a second.
Is the boulder even real?
And a boulder, exactly. That's
Is the boulder real? Do I need to, I can keep running. Can I at least run with joy? If I'm going to be running, I might as well be running with joy and not fear, or joy instead of anxiety. And I think that's part of my ideal practice is to go, okay, I can do the same thing with anxiety or peace. And take all the same actions. And how do I, at least because I feel better, right? Not because one is right and one is wrong.
No, it all comes back to you.
Because what do I want to be giving, and how do I want to live? Just moment by moment, right? And so just that shifting back.
And trying to catch what my body's addicted to. Like I'll catch it sometimes where everything, I'm like, I feel so much joy or abundance. And I find that again is like working out. How much can I allow myself to feel this energy before a voice comes in and it's like, okay, yep, get up, right? Enough of the feeling good, either feel nothing or let's dip. And I'm like, whoa, why do I have to dip? Why is this my natural emotional set point, right? Where there's a little bit of a woe's me in the background or, everything's not aligned, whatever that is.
And like, this is what's okay. Right? It's what everybody's stressed, so I have to be stressed. Everybody, I have to do this because this is the right way to be a human.
Right. Everybody's behaving this way. Shouldn't I be? How could I be happy in the middle of chaos?
And I love what you said about what are we addicted to. Because yes, we can be addicted to stress and we can be addicted to like whatever the running is.
Right.
But we could also, as I think you were also saying, it's like we could be addicted to the joy. We could be addicted to the gratitude. And you get that by constantly practicing, going back.
Right, creating that momentum. How do I get that momentum? And again, with your parts, right? It's just like, how can I focus on, what's another TV show I want to do, or a movie that I want to do, or direct, what do I want to direct? And can it be something big? And if not, why not? Right?
Allowing that possibility. Like, okay, this is going to be big. I can make something that's really for a lot of people.
Right.
The directing thing is actually, the current directing thing is a documentary that ties back into how I grew up with the hippies.
Tell me more.
Yeah, so
That's
I grew up going to this festival in the woods that started in the early 70s.
Okay.
And it was completely free and leaderless. It was a bunch of people choosing to get together to try to recreate something like Woodstock, except no music festival. There's no stage.
Right.
It's just people coming together to share their gifts and their talents and their knowledge and their wisdom and their light. And the purpose of it was to pray for peace on the 4th of July. Oh. So every 4th of July, people come together in a national forest to pray for peace. And it shouldn't work every year, right? Because it's literally anarchy. There's no one in charge. And it's literally free. You get there, and if you need food, you hold out a bowl and somebody fills it up.
Wow.
And everyone just volunteers to cook together. And, people will throw in a little bit of money, and it all gets pooled, and they go buy rice and beans or whatever. It's not fancy food. But it should only last a couple of years. I mean,
yeah.
Look around, and everything's driven by commerce. Everything's driven by an ego who needs to control the thing, and it doesn't seem to make sense.
Right.
But it's been going on now for more than 50 years, and thousands of people show up every year. 5,000 to 25,000 people for 50 years have been praying for peace on the 4th of July in a different place. It changes every year. It's totally off grid. You have to hike all your stuff way into the woods, and I have been around this community my whole life.
Right.
The people who started it are my parents' generation, and they're friends of mine. And so over many years, I've brought cameras in and just done little interviews and taken some pictures. And a couple of years ago was the 50th, and someone came to me and said, "Hey, I want to finance a documentary about this thing, and I hear you've been collecting footage. Would you like to direct this thing?" And I didn't exactly, but I was like, okay, if somebody's going to do it,
yes,
I would like to be the one.
Yeah, it's your world. You know it.
Yeah, and I think it's because anyone can show up. There are no tickets.
Right.
It's not one thing. It's thousands of individuals with their own agenda and their own backstory coming together and practicing conscious community, practicing peaceful tolerance, knowing that we're all very different. So there are many stories to tell about this thing. Right, and I am choosing to tell the story of the love and the light and focus on that prayer for peace and what really remains now, because my parents' generation are aging out of this. They can't get up into 10,000-foot elevations and camp for a week and haul firewood and water and things. They can't do it physically. They're in their 70s and some in their 80s. So what's going to be left behind when those people who started it are gone?
Right.
What's the legacy? Who keeps it going? And it's really
You're
a
like,
question.
Me?
But I'm just one person, right? Again, it's got to
be
thousands of individuals all coming together with that same spirit of tolerance and, setting aside what you want for the highest good, right? For the good of the community, and knowing that, okay, that person might be crazy and I've got to help them because they're part of my community. And so I'm going to choose to love and make food for them and
that's beautiful,
take care of them.
I think that we're missing that nowadays. It's like getting further and further away, and we're more and more divided, and this is mine, that's yours, anger, competition. So the fact that you're fueling back into that energy of community, can I just love another person again? Can I just give unconditionally, accept you for who you are, and just allow the energy to rise.
Right. Can we? I don't know. Because, a lot of times it feels like we can't. And part of it, I think, is I'm noticing that we're also hearing different stories.
That's
right?
true.
It's one thing if we all have the same narrative and we're all having different reactions, and that happens. And that's,
Absolutely.
I think, easier in some ways to relate, where you're like, oh, you heard the same story, but you saw it completely different. How interesting.
Yes.
But I think because there are so many information sources these days, people aren't hearing the same thing, and so we're reacting to completely different information. And then you're like, well, what? Where are you even coming from? Often it's different. And so then we have to get even more curious, and we have to get more tolerant, because we aren't coming from the same, two people can look at exactly the same event and have very different interpretations.
Absolutely.
But when two people are coming from totally different worlds, can we still choose love first?
Right.
Choose kindness and tolerance. Tolerance first, right? Because it can't always be love. It won't always be love.
That's true.
Especially if someone's coming with not love.
Right.
you know, with active hostility. Maybe.
You're like, I don't know if I can love you. I don't even know if I can.
You know, but can I still choose to see the light in that person and
Right.
go, okay, you have a different perspective than I do. You're seeing something different than I'm seeing, and I don't know what that is, but I'd like to know more. You know?
I think that's the key right there. If we can all just get back to that, at least then it's, again, a plateau where it doesn't have to be so high, it doesn't have to be so reactive. Can we remember that this is a game and our choice is love? Can we just, you know what I mean? Like we came here to love more. We didn't come here
to judge more?
To judge more or to fight, right? Even when I catch my own thoughts and I could feel my feistiness coming in, I'm always like, if I say this, is it going to bring more peace around you, or am I creating more chaos?
Right.
And just pausing and going, it's chaos.
Yeah.
And I'll just be like, so stop. And maybe don't say anything or say something loving. You know, whatever you can do the best in that moment, right?
Yeah.
To shift it all.
And just, can I just do some work? Like, I'll just be over here making a meal. I'll just be over here hauling some fire, you know, like metaphorically.
Absolutely.
Obviously in the woods in this thing that I'm doing, sure. But in life to go, I don't need the attention, because that's the other part of it, I think, is it's tempting to jump into the fray of contentious discourse.
Right.
To get the attention and to be like, well, I'm part of it. I've got an opinion too. You need to know my opinion because I'm right. Because we're all right.
Yeah,
you know, we all feel so right.
And you are right if you think of you creating your reality. Because in my reality, this is how the rules are. This is how everything flows. And that's really what I'm fighting for when people are in those combats. Because in their world, you're 100% correct. But if I live in a world, an inner world of peace, those laws do not apply to me. Right? So like you said, knowing that we're so separate and different and we all have the rights, and I could be curious, but that really is your reality, your manifestation.
Yeah, yeah. And
So-
I can have my experience, my version of how it is, but I don't need to tell you how to do it.
Right. It's not my business.
And finding that balance, because I think it's also important to show up when we do have an authentic contribution.
Right.
If you feel like you have a contribution, because I mean, I could not make a documentary. I could not write a song. I could not, you know, write scripts. I could not do those things. But I think when there's a contribution, there's also that, you know, okay, so I don't need to withhold my opinion all the time, but is it bringing peace? Is it bringing love? Is it serving something? Other than just like, give me attention.
Get the attention.
I need to be in the mix. Get in there. Finding that.
That's very cool. If you could give your younger self any advice, what would that advice be?
My younger self, I would tell her to trust herself more, and be more tolerant. Again, you know, just as I am now practicing and learning to tolerate people that are very different from me, you know, right? Like, I think even within ourselves, there are pieces that we want to disavow. There are pieces we want to say, oh, but not that part of my story. Oh, not that part of myself. To really listen to all the parts, the silly part, the angry part, the hurting part, the tense part, to give voice to all the parts of herself. Because I think when I was younger, I did want to have one narrative. You know, I wanted to, I was just acting when I was younger, and I have mostly been doing that since I was a child. So, you know, that was the story I was telling. And in fact, I used to really not tell a story of growing up with hippies, because that wasn't cool, and it wasn't sexy, you know, it was just too hippie and silly and woo-woo, you know. And so I didn't talk about that part of myself. And I think you know, and the hurts, right? The things that didn't go well, all those, I wanted to just put those aside because I was strong and I could, you know, just talk about my strength.
Right.
That's what I wanted to focus on. And I think it would have been happier, and there would have been a lot more ease and joy allowing all the parts the whole time. And I think for me, that's part of what that meditation is too, is like, okay, what else is going on?
Yeah.
What's in there? You know, yeah. And the writing too. Like, okay, what's in there that I'm not acknowledging, that isn't in my body, but might just be swirling in the back of my mind or my subconscious.
That's beautiful. Okay, that's beautiful. As a writer, how do you allow those different energies or voices play through you? Do you channel them? Like, how do you draw them in? And kind of
Yeah.
let them come to life on your page?
I think I come to things a lot as an actor too, so it is often character first, and like where's the fun, where's the silliness, where's the, even I'm writing a sniper movie right now.
I love that.
And like I'm still looking for the light and the sniper, like the silliness and the sexiness and the joy, even though, sniper stories are, it's funny that I'm acting in a sniper thing.
I know.
And I'm also writing a sniper thing.
Manifestation at its best, right there.
I don't
right?
understand, but what I've gotten to learn through studying both of these, I don't know why I didn't make this, and I'm making a documentary about peace, like praying
I know,
for peace.
that's
on Earth.
perfect.
Wow.
Dark and light. I love it.
Yeah, the joy and light. There's a lot of focus in that, in that sniper, you're laser focused, and there's a lot of stillness. Why am I even saying this?
But she's also very inward, right? When you think about love, everything is very expanded. We're all connected. When you think of a sniper, it's me, the person, the gun, focus, and you actually cut yourself off of the world.
Right.
So it's the complete opposite.
But you also have to dial in, because all of your being and attention is on one single point
one
over
thing.
there, and that's an interesting thing. Okay, so you asked about, as a writer,
Yes.
how do I tap into those things? I still start with that like free flow journaling often.
Okay.
If I'm feeling blocked. If I'm feeling blocked and I don't know what to write next, I'll actually just start writing freehand whatever's going on. Because if I'm blocked, there's probably something else that needs to come out. And it might just be fear that I'm going to get it wrong.
Right.
Or, it might be the wrestling of two possibilities. I'm okay, if I go this direction, here's where it's going to end up. And when I give myself permission to just blurt out whatever's going on underneath, answers emerge often, and sometimes it's like, well, you're not ready to write this moment.
Right.
So then I'll go to another moment if it's a script, and it usually is. I'll start writing, and suddenly one of the characters will start having a piece of dialogue or some monologue, and then I'll jump into that just to have it written down, because maybe, and often, why the reason I'm a little blocked is because there's some other part that needs to come out now, and it isn't linear.
Right.
And I have to give myself permission for it not to be linear. Writing days are not all created equal. Some days I can write 10 pages, and I'm always blown away. I'm like, wow, 10 pages.
Yeah.
And some days it's half a page. Some days it's a bunch of research,
Right.
and a few pages that I'm going to throw away for sure. So for me, allowing just back to what we were saying, allowing all of the different voices to come out, the voices that are mine and the voices that are my characters,
Right.
the voices that are maybe my producers that are giving me notes, and especially when I don't agree with the notes, especially when
That's got to be hard. My character wouldn't do that.
yeah, my character wouldn't do that, or you want to take out this other character, they need to be there.
Yeah.
And to know that this isn't mine ultimately, right? This is
Right.
to be of service. So I have to
Also,
try it somebody else's way.
right.
Listen in, okay, I don't agree. In the same way that I might not agree with other humans in my life. All right, I want to see it from your perspective. And so then to just
Take those
relax,
notes.
relax with my
Control.
control, my ideas of what's right, my ideas of the way I'm going to make it so good.
Right.
Because I can always come back
That's
to
good
what I
advice.
liked before. I can always write the version and say, does this work? And then if it doesn't work, try it again to see if I can really make it work. Maybe ask somebody else. I do that a lot too. I ask for help.
Yeah, which is good.
lot.
I think that's fine. You know what's cool though, just listening to all of this, it reminds me of channeling,
Yeah.
right? And I think as a writer, as an actress, sometimes we don't realize that we could also be channeling a completely different energy, or even a person that's lived a similar life and it is coming through you. And we do it all the time without realizing it.
I think it's the only thing we do.
Right.
I honestly think that, I have ideas, but I don't know that they're mine.
Right.
I always
And
think
sometimes you
it's
feel a little
channel.
guilty. Like sometimes like when you give advice, right, intuition flows through you or something like that, because then it goes away and I'm like, I have no idea what I just said. Please don't give me credit. I don't know who came through right then. Maybe it was an angel, maybe it was a deceased loved one that wanted to give you this message, but it wasn't from me. I know they just used my body, allowed them to speak through me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's, as a healer,
Yeah.
as a writer, as a creative,
Yeah.
as an actor, as a dancer, I think it's all
Flowing
coming through
through
us.
you.
And if we can allow ourselves to be like a channel for, I call it light.
Yes.
If I can be a channel for light, even if it's a dark character or a dark moment, like can I trust that the channel's open and it's okay to
play
put
with
it down, to say the advice, or to write the scene, or to act the character that maybe is, the sniper character that's too dark, and I don't want to take it
dark character.
because it's easy to get. I mean, as an actor, for sure, I get nervous about it getting stuck.
Right.
Getting stuck. If I
Now
channel,
it's gonna be me
If I
now.
channel
It's
this
like-
kind of a dark character, what if I get stuck?
I would be walking around with my sniper down, going into, what I mean? You're like,
Right. Or even just that feeling of tension and fear, or
whatever that creepiness is.
creepiness. That was the word I was going to use. I was like, creepy, but I don't want to judge her.
But again, because I think that's what we were taught, right, a long time ago. It's like, if you invite this energy in, if you become the darkness, you will not be able to let it go.
Yeah. Don't make that face. It could stick that
Don't
way.
make that. Yeah, exactly. What are you making that face for? You want to stay like that?
Your eyes are going to stay crossed forever.
They're not. But again, it's such great advice, because I think the more you practice going in and out of it and trusting that you always return to the authentic you, then you have more power, more control, because you let it go, right?
Right. And finding those rhythms, those things that bring us back into our integrated self, whatever it is, right? I've definitely gone through times when it was swimming, my meditation. I meditated also, but I do distance swimming, and that was my meditation. But find those practices that bring you back to yourself, so that you can be a clear channel and you can trust that it will come in and then it will go.
Yes.
And you won't get stuck. Your face isn't going to get stuck that way.
As we leave this episode, my eyes are crossed. I don't look at the camera. You will not get stuck with this face.
Right.
Oh, that was so much great advice.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel like I need to hear some of that advice, and I definitely needed to hear what you had to say. Thank you so much.
You're amazing. Well, thank you, everybody, for watching Tapping In. Until next time, mwah.